We've talked about passion. We've talked about issues around volunteers. What other advice might you want to give to someone who's considering a move into a leadership role? Rocco, then perhaps Sarah.
Couple of things, and there are a couple of things that my friends in the for-profit world warned me about when I made the decision. The first thing that they were really concerned about, or they felt I should be concerned about, is they said, Rocco, this is a one-way ticket. You go into the non-for-profit and your friends are going to think you've gone soft. You ain't coming back. You won't be taken seriously. To which I make the argument around the 80,000, the most competitive. You make it here, baby, you can make it anywhere. So if you do good work, it is not a one-way street by any means. The only reason it's going to be a one-way street is you're going to love what you're doing so much you're not going to want to go back, because the satisfaction you can get, despite all of the issues, is enormous if you're in the right cause that means something to you. The other piece is that you should not go in thinking that someone trained in the for-profit is God's gift to the not-for-profit. That's a mistake a lot of people make. You will never meet people who know how to stretch a dollar further than people in the not-for-profit. When I think of some of the waste and excess of my days in the beer company versus what happens in the not-for-profit, it's really night and day. When I think about what's happened in recent days over the value destruction that turned out to be sort of value inflation for almost a decade of financial instruments that never actually created real value, helping real people, just fattening bank accounts, it actually angers me when I think of the kind of work that's being done day in, day out by volunteers and staff in charities. So those two things I would definitely keep in mind.
Sarah, any additional thoughts to you?
Well, actually, I mean, I guess there was a comment that Rocco made, which was it's not a one-way street, and I absolutely agree with that. I think that what limits people from feeling they can move into not-for-profit or move into government and then move back into for-profit is the restrictions you place on yourself. I think it is possible. I've done it. Moving from private to public and back to private and then into not-for-profit. So it absolutely is doable. I think what you have to recognize, though, is that when you're making those pitches and you're seeking those jobs in a different sector, the conventional wisdom applies, right? You can sort of move sector or you can move job, but it's hard to move both at the same time. So you may need to do it incrementally, and you definitely have to pitch it. You have to explain why the skills that you had that stood you in good stead in the for-profit sector or whichever sector you're sort of coming from and going to, that those are applicable. So there is perhaps more onus on you to make that case, but it absolutely is doable. And you just you have to be very clear on what you want, why you have the skills, and also why you have the right, temperament and passion that we've talked about for whatever the sector is that you're moving into. But it absolutely is doable.
Thank you, Paul. You've been at Princess Margaret now 10 years.
6 years.
6 years.
Some
days it feels like
that's
10.
20 in charity years.
But it's fair to say the organization as exists today is very different from the one that you founded in, and it's now a $100 million organization, and you in both sectors, culture plays a particular challenge in bringing about change and management change in an organization. Do you have some reflections on particularly the culture of either an institution or a charity in general, and how you work around that?
Well, that's a big and and complicated question. As Liz Taylor said to her seventh husband, I won't keep you long on this one. One of the most difficult things in a not-for-profit sector is actually getting the culture aligned behind what your true vision and purpose is. And we've talked a lot about passion, and passion can be a very ethereal concept, or it can be a very practical concept. I view it in very practical terms. I think that human capital and intellectual capital and financial capital follows something I'll call passion capital. And passion capital is actually the real value of culture in your organization. And there's two things that we did, and Christine Lasky is here today. She comes out of the private sector and is a great example of somebody who's moved over very successfully. We spent almost 2 years putting together a document called the Creed, which, all kinds of organizations have got vision and mission and all that stuff that really nobody looks at. Our Creed is a one-page document that Y&R Advertising actually helped us to write. And it took the very complicated world of cancer research and clinical care and healthcare, and it made it very specific what we believe in, what we're all about. And so all of our docs, because the basic researchers don't really talk to the clinical researchers, and the translational researchers don't talk to the people who are surgeons, and healthcare is a very difficult place to get everybody moving forward in the same way. Nicholas, you'll appreciate this, having done a great job on Mount Sinai. And that Creed document was one of the most important things we did in terms of moving our success forward. And everybody in the place basically sings from the same song sheet. So that was incredibly important in terms of aligning our culture. The second thing is the recognition of this thing that I'll call passion capital, which is you answer to so many communities in the not-for-profit sector, but I think the basic community we all answer to is our donors. And while donors can make scientific and other decisions, boy, the donors are, in most cases, know so much about where an organization should go, and particularly in healthcare, can help inform and inspire the decisions that are made by people that have been working in an industry that has been fixed in its ways for so many years. So the Creed document, everybody sings from the same song sheet, getting alignment, and this understanding of what passion capital is all about. Those are the two things that really helped align our culture and move us forward.